delighted now to introduce our second panel. So again, I'm going to interact a little. Thank you for joining us. We have Noreen, Noreen is obviously the lead in Solace at the national level on MicroQuals and lots of other things I know, Noreen. We have Lorraine. Lorraine is representing City of Dublin ETB. And again, Lorraine will cover particulars like we did in the last panel. Flow is pretty much similar, where a couple of specific offerings that's there that businesses can engage with. And then we have Leon. Leon listens to me lots, don't you, Leon?
Always.
Because Leon is on our fora as well, representing DDLETB. We have the privilege of having two large-scale ETBs in Dublin. Again, that scale piece. So there are lots, but like I say, don't ask me for a list. It's about what is it that you might need, and then maybe connecting you to either or of the ETBs in Dublin. But equally, Noreen might advise you about the national piece, because where there is things online, it doesn't matter whether you're in Timbuktu, you can still sign up. In that case?
That's correct.
So I might hand to you, Noreen, maybe to give a little bit of introduction, because this is very different. Obviously, we've had micro-credentials. This one is micro-qualifications from further education. So I'll leave it to you, Noreen, to give the context around it.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Natasha, for giving us the opportunity to come here and present the micro-qualifications. And, you know, I know it might be a little bit confusing, micro-creds, micro-quals, but we wanted to differentiate the offer because we're at a level 4, 5, and 6. And that's just to make that distinction. But equally, all of our micro-quals are aligned to the National Framework of Qualifications, and they're accredited by QQI. So that partnership is really important to us because we want to give our employees the ownership of that learning. That, you know, the benefits are that each micro-qualification is 50 hours of learning. So that could be approximately broken up between the tutor-supported element, which might typically be 25 hours, and then the work-based project, and ours are all work-based projects. We don't have any exams because we want the, I suppose, learning to be applicable and practical straight back in the workplace. And that's typically around 25 hours. So we have seen it's available in person, blended online. And we have seen a movement post-COVID that the people wanted to go back to the in-person experience, but it is available in the other formats too. So I suppose the micro-qualifications, these are all developed under Skills to Advance, which is a heavily supported national funding policy initiative to support the reintegration of people who missed out in upskilling and reskilling. And I think this stat always really focuses my mind. In the third quarter of 2019, we had almost 1 million people at work who only had a Leaving Cert qualification. So that represented about 43% of our labour market. So there are people who maybe missed out. It's not to say they haven't done very well in their careers, but I suppose when there is a shift and a change, they might be the most impacted cohort of people. So what we tried to do, and working with all of our enterprise partners, and that was really a very important part, that collaboration. So for all of the micro-quals that we develop, we form a working group in each skill area. So that might include ISME, SFA, IBEC, Chambers. I don't want to miss out anybody there.
Regional skills.
Regional skills for are on everyone. Of course, they're a very core partner. So we have the industry partners, but we also have the sectoral partners. So I know Leon is going to talk about what we are doing in sustainability space. But for that, we would partner with SEAI, Irish Water, the EPA, and all of the relevant bodies. Because I think, you know, and Jules made that point too, it's really important that when we develop something and co-design something with industry, that when it lands, it has to be relevant to their needs. So for each one of our micro-qualifications, there are 50 hours, 25 and 25 hours tutor and self-directed learning. They are also, as I mentioned, they're accredited. Everyone is aligned to the National Framework of Qualifications. And that's really useful because while each piece of learning is accredited in its own right, some of the pieces of learning are stackable, such as lean and sustainability. And then in other parts, what I think is a really nice way to sell the MicroQuals is that in our environment today, we see a third of our numbers coming through Skills to Advance are previous graduates. And the point has been made previously that what we did 5-10 years ago is no longer relevant. You need to be continuously on that journey, to be learning new skills, expanding it to make it relevant to what your job is for today and to future-proof for tomorrow. So because the micro-qualifications are 50 hours of learning, you can configure a whole suite of different micro-qualifications across digital, sustainability, robotics, immersive technologies, depending on what skill area you're trying to expand. And especially for small businesses, I think this is really, really key, because in many of your businesses, I'm sure you've one person doing multiple tasks. So they're working across a number of different areas. It could be the social media component. It could be trying to look at AI and the introduction of how you could enhance your productivity using AI, and also many other different areas too. So you may not be able to release somebody for a long period of time to continuously skill, upskill and reskill, but what you can do is send them on those smaller micro-quals to gain those skills, to build up and configure a nice skill set that'll help make them more adaptable and more relevant to your workplace. And then I think the beauty of the final point, I suppose, as an introduction, all our micro-qualifications at level 5 are, I don't want to say it free, but they are. They're heavily and fully funded. And we don't push the free element because often what is free is not valued. But most certainly we're totally aware of the pressures of business in terms of cost. So that removes that cost barrier. And then at a level 6, they're very heavily subsidized. So we have what we call a cost offset model. By releasing your employees to participate in the program, we cost that and offset it against the actual cost, which means that in many cases, employers pay little to nothing for participation in those micro-qualifications. But I think that is definitely a bonus, but I think it's the skilling and the reskilling and the upskilling should be the key focus, because it's giving a business an opportunity to expand. And we can see across Enterprise Ireland strategy was launched yesterday, the FET strategy is going to be launched in the coming months. But the key component of all of these strategies are skills. If you are not keeping your skills up to date as a small business, you're really disadvantaging yourself in terms of being able to prosper and grow in an environment that the only constant is change. So I suppose from my perspective, I would be looking at the opportunity to upskill, reskill, and skill in the first instance, especially in the whole area of artificial intelligence. And we have 28 micro-qualifications validated to date, but we have 40 in development. And those 40 are covering those new areas that industry are coming to us, and they're saying, we need these skills in artificial intelligence, ethics and artificial intelligence. How do I develop a strategy? How do I enhance my productivity? So that's kind of a whole suite in AI. But then we have L&D. I think small companies are seriously challenged. Many don't have a dedicated L&D function. So these suite of micro-qualifications will give you the capacity to start from the outset, do a needs analysis, and bring you through to actually not just doing transactional upskilling, but to take a more strategic approach to how you develop your workforce into the future. So we have a whole suite in the biopharma, we have transversal skills also, but we're talking about, we're looking at level 4, 5, and 6. And what we are hoping to do, and we're working with the IUA on that, is the progression path up to the higher levels too, because it really does depend what type of skill you're looking for and what type of knowledge. And most certainly, we would see for a lot of the small businesses, the skill change is required at a level 5 and level 6. So as a starting point, that may be where you want to go, but equally there is an opportunity to progress, and depending obviously on the configuration of your workforce too. So I'll stop there.
Perfect.
Sorry, a little bit more than an intro.
It's great, Lauren. And I think that progression piece is particularly important for the businesses where you have different stages of individuals who want to upskill. And I think traditionally, let's be honest, it probably wasn't something the business would have thought we go to further education for.
Absolutely.
Which has hugely changed over the years. But there is very much, it's why we exist, the fora where you have all the partners around the table to ensure that pathway of upskilling exists from various different levels. So maybe, Leon, I'll come to you first.
Yep.
Again, it's an area that we covered earlier on, but there's very specific, depending on where the business is at. They mightn't have even started a journey, but green, sustainability, those are the areas, I suppose, really, they now call even twin transition, digital and green. They're combining the two. What maybe on the MicroQuals side is there that's on offer for business, might be relevant?
Yeah, there's a growing number, Natasha, in the green area, from environmental sustainability to resource efficiency, lean practice for sustainable business. There's also the circular economy and sustainable supply chains. Eco-driving, there's a whole range of them, and as the range grows, we will talk to a business and we will ask the business what their need is, what their skill need is, so we can create a package bespoke for the business. They might want to focus on the circular economy. They might want to bring skills into their business with their employees to have those skills in the circular economy. They might then look and say, well, I'd like to kind of maybe couple that together with resource efficiency and maybe digital business, something from a non-green area as well. So there's a whole growing range, but I mean, eco-driving, sustainable supply chain procurement, the circular economy, environmental sustainability, and I suppose the big one that we've had in our ETB a lot of traction with is the resource efficiency.
Okay. I know Noreen mentioned earlier about the amount of time, but when we're talking like the business, how many days? What does that look like? How long might it take to do a module? Or then if you want to pick a mix of module, what would that look like?
So again, in the first instance, we will speak to the business. As Noreen's already outlined, they generally, the micro-qualifications are 25 hours of tutor-led or tutor-supported learning, and then 25 hours of self-directed learning as well. But we will speak to the business and say, you know, what is your workflow? What way does this work for you? And we will change delivery dependent on that, be it online, be it blended, or be it in person, because, you know, initially when I started speaking to businesses, I thought, you know, they're going to want online, they're going to want blended, but as Noreen's already referenced, a lot of people actually want in person because there's a networking part there, and there's peer-to-peer learning there as well, and there's a synergy that happens with the in-person. So increasingly we're doing blended. So there's online resources, and then there's workshops that we will have in, you know, in one of our training centres in Dublin, where people come in and they have maybe one day a month, you know, but for, I suppose, a micro-qualification, it would be just the one day, and they will have that. It's peer-to-peer learning, and you know, then there's the assessment as well.
So the start and the end date, but it can be flexible in between,
Absolutely,
depending on the needs.
absolutely flexible. Depending on the need of the business, it will be flexible. So I don't suppose there's no real answer to that as such, because as Noreen's already referenced, there's a certain number of hours generally, but that will depend on the needs of the business, and we'll sit down with the business in the first instance, look at what their skill need is and how we can tailor that to them, and how we can, I suppose, work that around, you know, their process.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, Lorraine, we might come to you now, and again, that whole area of business innovation, market development piece. There's lots of potential there. It comes up time and time again in terms of our discussions with business. Maybe outline a little bit of what's available to businesses.
The business innovation and market development is a suite of 6 modules. They cover from the ideation of your business idea to look at whether that's a practical business idea, then to bring you on to the validation of that, the market development, and then the other 3 modules are about customer acquisition, market, as I say, you know, actually getting out into the market, and then customer retention and scaling up. But the reality is that all of these courses are designed with a business in mind, so that most small businesses don't have a dedicated marketing person. Making your accounts person, your sales person are doing a lot of the same jobs, or if you're a small business working, you know, developing on your own, what you are is you're everything. So these courses are designed in such a way that you can pick a module, work with that module, and if that's enough for you, great, move on. Or you can take the whole, you might decide that you want to do all of them. So it is stackable. They're all QQI level 6. As Noreen has already said, that the modules are work-based, so your assessment is based on the project. So rather than just, it is theory, but theory is bringing you into a practical result for your business. And I think that's really powerful from the point of view of SMEs, that a lot of the time, if we look at the marketing in theory, what we're getting is all the intellectual levels of what we don't know is, well, how do I do it? How am I going to get my idea out into the marketplace? So what we hear in the City of Dublin ETB is what we're doing is these courses, again, as Leon has said, can be delivered on the way the business needs. So we have employer engagement officers who will work with you, who will help you even analyse your training needs, how your business works, what it is that you think you need, and the skills that are required. And the idea that all these courses are available through, FEC colleges and training centres. So in Dublin, there's 5 training centres located in different areas, and we have a very high number of FEC colleges in the City of Dublin and the city centre, Crumlin and obviously Banfarmers and Phileas. We would be delivering these courses. Again, they can be online, blended to 25 hours. Then Noreen and Leon have referred to that. But what's key, I think, is to remember that there is support there to start your journey, to start upskilling your employees or upskilling yourself. So your employer engagement officer in DDNETB or City of Dublin is the person to talk to. Their team will get out there, talk to you, and build a set of upskilling opportunities with you. And I think that's really, really important, because you're not on your own on the journey. So, yes.
One thing you mentioned there, and I want to pick up on it, because particularly for those who are starting out, even for new business ideas, because I know there are entrepreneurs in the room as well, that collaboration, Noreen, you mentioned, between the IDA and the EI side as well, there are other supports, and that's an opportunity where I suppose that referral piece, because you might do the course, but then you want to know the financial supports from the state agency to actually develop that. So that was key, I think, Lorraine, in terms of the development of the modules in those courses. Is that right?
Well, that's correct. Yes, I think, again, it has been referenced that these modules are based on the needs of industry as identified by these groups. So it's not just theory. It's looking at the way that we can grow, and it's enterprise based. So you're not. Having come through both private sector and public sector, I think it's really important that business needs are looked at, and we understand that people are tight for time, people are financially, it's not easy to pay for employees to be upskilled. So these are really unique opportunities for employers and employees to take advantage of fully subsidised training.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Leon, I'm going to come to you maybe, because you sit on the forum. Obviously, you're the engagement manager for DDLETB. That's almost the kind of challenge too in navigating even one ETB. As mentioned by Lorraine, there's lots of training centres, there's lots of colleges, they all do different things. Where do you go if you're the business and you just want to find out or speak to somebody? You're it, aren't you?
We're it. Yeah, we're it. So DDLETB covers all of County Dublin, and then City of Dublin covers the city. But I suppose that can be confusing. So they can reach out to either myself or to the CDETB team, and we will reference or refer amongst ourselves. But our team is a one-stop shop, as you'd mentioned earlier on, and we will offer supports around micro-qualifications, around skills to advance more widely, but also other supports to business as well, like traineeship, apprenticeship, work placements. There's a whole range of wraparound services that we can provide, and we have other programs as well as skills to advance, where we can look at providing English language for employers if they have that need within their employee cohort, where we can look at basic digital skills. There's a whole range of different upskilling opportunities that we can do. But you're right, with ourselves and DDLETB, it's myself and my team, and if they contact ourselves or they contact CDETB, we can then put them in touch with whoever the service is within our ETB, depending on the needs of the business. But the micro-qualifications really, they're our go-to at the minute, because they are designed in a way to meet business needs, because they've been co-designed with business and industry representatives. They really are what business need. They're designed in a way that make it fully accessible and easy for the business, affordable and easy and flexible for the business to upskill, their employees to provide the skills that business needs.
Okay.
And Lorraine, just on the basis of maybe a similar vein, is it the learners or the business that's coming generally to kind of engage or register on these courses?
We have a mix of current courses. You'd have a mix of learners and people that have been referred by their employer. So you might have one or two people from a business who have been asked to go on this course. But a lot of the time it's people looking for opportunities themselves that they want to upskill so that they can change jobs, or upskill so that they can get a promotion, or even just, that there's something that they feel is lacking in their day-to-day, that they need a new skill. They need to know. And I really think digital skills are really important. I mean, there's been so many changes, and even with the advent of AI, that people want to know more, and they want to know how it affects them, and how they can harness these opportunities in their business. So I have maybe 60% learners and 40% would be learners as in that have come just through their own volition rather than through it.
So that point Noreen made, there's different pathways. So if an employee wants to take the ownership themselves, that discussion about the funding model versus the employer.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we show the business piece, I think at this stage, Noreen, can I just ask you maybe to direct people in the room? They obviously know now a couple of the connections and may well link in, and I'd encourage you to have a conversation over the coffee with both Leon and Lorraine as well. But generally, if somebody was looking for some portal of kinds, where would you direct them to first, maybe?
At the moment, on skills2advance.ie/microqualifications, we do have a kind of a running order of all the microquals that are scheduled and up and running and available across the ETBs. So you could look at that. I wouldn't just, if you don't see what you want there, I wouldn't let it stop you, because we do have the 2 Dublin Education and Training Boards, but we have 14 others around the country. We have all their contact details on the site. You can either contact me directly on my email, or Leon or Lorraine, and we will find a solution for you, because I suppose what we're trying to do, and I think what a lot of small employers and employers in general, they like to work and to upskill in their own locality. And because the 16 education and training boards are based all over Ireland, we can, match you with the right solution for you. And most certainly, as you had mentioned also, Natasha, that a lot of the microquals have the combined element of the in-person, the blended, but some of them are delivered online. So equally, if you are based in Dublin, that's not to say that you can't do something that maybe Corky to be are leading out on online. So there are a number of solutions for you, and I just hope that you would take up the offer to either email me directly, or Leon or Lorraine, or our skills2advance@solus.ie, which I didn't include up there, but we just realised that putting the old-fashioned email address actually is a really useful resource for the companies to make that first point of contact.
Perfect. Selection as well, fetchcourses.ie. So that's where you invite lots of them.
Yeah.
So then it's okay.
What we might do is just hear from the business, if I may, and then I'll come to the Q&A side, if that's okay. So you can take a breath for a little minute. And we'll hear from Virginia Logistics.
My name is Doreen Alexandriano, and I'm the Quality, Health and Safety and Environmental Manager in Virginia International Logistics. The knowledge and skills that we've acquired through this course enable us to be more competitive on the market, deliver a new KPI for our customers, which is a CO2 KPI, enabled us to reduce cost based on the projects that we've done, and definitely have improved the efficiency of the company.
Perfect.
Sorry, and this was in relation to sustainability modules and how they've impacted on their own business in Ireland.
Thanks, Noreen. So, question, I saw a hand up already. You're waiting, no problem. Jonathan has our roving mic there. We'll just get the mic to you and shoot away to the panel. That's okay. Here, I'll give him this.
You come forward.
Thanks, Will. Hey guys, I worked in HR previously and in corporate work for 25 years. And the one question that's going on in my mind, I'm sure lots of employers would ask, is why they do a micro qualification versus a micro credential, given that they're both short, sharp learning, they're both impactful. Why would I do one over the other? How do I make that decision?
Well, I think it depends on where your starting point is, really. Well, certainly for the research we have done initially, for that cohort, that 43% I mentioned, a lot of people maybe left education for particular reasons. They may lack confidence. The difficulty of re-engagement is a huge barrier. Or even if you've stepped out for a long time and you haven't done something formal per se. So you may want to start at a level 5. Our level 4s are just generally awareness programs. So the artificial intelligence one we've done in strategic partnership with Microsoft is about for the citizen, just so everybody has more kind of acceptance of the terminology around AI, understands what we're talking about. We're all talking about it, but do we understand what we're talking about? But then if you're going into those particular areas, I would think you'd have to maybe look at what the needs are of that individual, what their starting point is, and what their hope is. And most certainly as part of all of the micro-qualifications that we develop, we map out, we look at what is available to make sure we're not duplicating anything that currently exists, but also to see if there are progressions. We're not claiming that it does anything more than the 50 hours, depending, it's giving you a really good starting point to introduce you with a new skill, and that practical application through the project-based assignment can help you apply it back in your workplace. Or if you're involved in a suite, you can piece them together and start building that learning, the incremental learning over a piece of time. And then you may want to progress somewhere else, because if you want that further depth of learning, you may need to go outside of the further education and training space and into the higher ed space. But I really think, there's a lot of factors that you'd probably have to consider to see what the right route is for you. And then you make a decision based on all of that kind of assessment. To be honest, I don't know if my colleagues would have anything else to say.
Yeah, I'd say it
Just, Jules, we'll get you the mic there, yeah, because I think it is important, that progression piece and where people are at in their journey. They're two very distinct offerings.
They are. Sorry if I didn't come across earlier. So we at Micro Credentials, we're levels 6 to 9. So we're I guess more of a higher level. So you would, I guess, if you wanted to start off on your MicroQuals and then progress on to Micro Credentials. So it really does depend where your team are in terms of their current skill level and where they want to get to.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Jules. Any other questions? Yeah, there's just one up here in the front.
Thank you.
We'll
Hi,
finish
I'm
on this
Shivani.
one if that's okay. Perfect.
I am Shivani Teja. I'm one of the new starting up entrepreneurs like we just mentioned. So just in terms of the subsidized or funded programs or just any kind of courses, do we have a certain criteria of how long the business should have been in the business to get all of these courses or
No.
MicroQuals, MicroCreds, any of it?
No, once you're an established private business, you have access to this source of funding. Yeah.
So you would meet with the employer engagement officer if it was for the business, and they would go through the process with you. And it's quite a simple process, and then they would sign off on the training. And if it's an individual, then you just meet with the people in the training centre or the college, or if it's online, it'd be asked to fill out forms. But it's a simple process, and there's a certain level of eligibility, but that, again, it's quite easy.
And I just think it is important to note, because Natasha, you had mentioned it earlier, this is coming out of a combined pot called the National Training Fund. All employers are feeding into this. So I would be advising, if you want to get a return on your investment, it's up to you to dip into all of these opportunities as much as you possibly can, because the investment was to support Irish industry to upskill and reskill, to maintain that high level of productivity and competitiveness. So absolutely, all businesses, private businesses are open and available to access the NTF funding. Yeah.
And just to pick up on that very same point, Norrie, when we speak to businesses in our team, oftentimes when you tell them that it's something they've already paid for as Natasha mentioned as well, they become much more interested in it. Because if it's something, that's free, that's abstract, they think, okay, there's not much value in that. But when you tell a person, this is something that you have already paid for through your contributions, but you're just not accessing it, their mindset changes very quickly and they think, okay, I want to access this. I want my employees to access this. I want my teams to access this. I've already paid for this. So this is something that I need to engage in. So it's just another point to reinforce what Noreen and Natasha have already said.
Yeah, and just on micro-credentials, it's the learner subsidy. You're the business, but you're also the learner. So that's an important aspect too as well. We met last night, so I'm delighted to have you today. Okay, I'm going to say a huge thank you to my second panel. If you just stay there, we're not going to go into major formalities at this stage. We're going to open the 2 doors in at the back where there's some lovely refreshments and encourage people to maybe engage a little bit more. I leave you with one point though, because I'm an advocate of lifelong learning. I've probably in every job that I've done, whether it's further ed, higher ed, the skill net provision, engage with the LEOs, I've probably done and still continue to do. So my call to action to you, the business today is, well, okay, you've got the offerings now, they're available to you. What are you going to sign up to? I know I'm already having a look at my next venture into the world of learning. But again, never stop learning, because life, in fairness, never stops teaching us. Every day is a learning day.